Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions. The mystery of Stonehenge. The real purpose has never been discovered. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction, not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. Stonehenge was built in 3 phases over 1,500 years by people who left no written records and no oral tradition. Its massive sarsen stones were dragged from Marlborough Downs, 40 kilometers away, by a culture without wheels or pulleys. The bluestones in the center came from Wales, 240 kilometers away. After 4,000 years of study, we still do not know why. The monument was not built once. It was built, dismantled, rearranged, and rebuilt across 15 centuries by communities whose relationship to the site clearly changed over time. The earliest phase, around 3000 BC, was primarily a cremation cemetery, the largest in Neolithic Britain. Later phases added the Great Stone Circles. The avenue connecting Stonehenge to the River Avon aligns precisely with the midsummer sunrise and the midwinter sunset. All of this is certain. What none of it tells us is what Stonehenge meant to the people who built it, used it, and were buried in it. That answer has not been found. This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the global puzzle of unexplained ancient construction, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. Catastrophism, the idea that Earth's geological and cultural history has been shaped by sudden, violent events rather than purely gradual processes, was once the dominant paradigm in science. It was then largely displaced by uniformitarianism, the principle championed by Charles Lyell in the 19th century that the present is the key to the past, and that change occurs slowly and continuously. The pendulum has since swung back. Modern geology and astronomy have confirmed that catastrophic events, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, rapid climate shifts, have profoundly shaped Earth's surface and life upon it. The Chicxulub impact that ended the Cretaceous is the most famous example, but it is not alone. The Younger Dryas cooling event 12,000 years ago caused radical shifts in human habitat within decades, not millennia. The Bronze Age collapse 3,000 years ago ended multiple interconnected civilizations in a generation. These events matter for archaeology because they reset the evidence. A major catastrophe does not merely destroy a civilization, it destroys the record of that civilization. Survivors carry only what they can remember, and memory degrades with each generation. After a few centuries, the grandchildren of survivors have myths where their grandparents had engineering manuals. What archaeologists find when they excavate ancient sites is not the full picture. It is the fragment that survived the last catastrophe. The full picture may be forever gone, preserved only in the ambiguous traces that puzzle researchers to this day. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter, the core evidence surrounding Stonehenge. The real purpose has never been discovered, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. Stonehenge was constructed in multiple phases between approximately 3000 BC and 1500 BC, a span of 15 centuries. The earliest phase consisted of a circular earthwork enclosure and a ring of 56 pits known as the Aubrey Holes, some of which contained cremated human remains. The Great Sarsen Stone Circle and Trilithons, the iconic image of the monument, were erected in the third phase around 2500 BC. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen. Instruments malfunction. Researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered the sarsen stones forming the outer circle and the central trilithons are the largest in the monument, weighing up to 25 tons each. They were sourced from Marlborough Downs, approximately 40 kilometers to the north, transported by sledge and possibly waterway. The smaller bluestones, weighing 2 to 5 tons each, originated from the Preseli Hills in Wales, approximately 240 kilometers away, a transport feat whose exact method remains unresolved. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine. Stonehenge is precisely aligned with the solstices. The monument's main axis points directly toward the midsummer sunrise and looking in the opposite direction toward the midwinter sunset. The avenue, a parallel-banked processional approach, reinforces this alignment over a distance of several kilometers toward the River Avon. The alignment is too precise to be accidental and is the strongest evidence for deliberate astronomical orientation. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation, but the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, excavations in 2008 by Mike Parker Pearson's Stonehenge Riverside project recovered cremated remains of at least 64 individuals from the Aubrey Holes, dating from 3000 to 2500 BC. This makes Stonehenge the largest known Neolithic cremation cemetery in Britain. Isotopic analysis of the teeth showed that many of the individuals had not grown up locally. They came from Wales, Scotland, and elsewhere, suggesting Stonehenge drew people from across Britain during its earliest phase. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of LIDAR survey of the surrounding landscape, conducted in 2010 and subsequently revealed at least 17 previously unknown prehistoric monuments in the immediate area, earthworks, barrows, and enclosures that had been invisible at ground level for centuries. Stonehenge is not an isolated monument, but the ceremonial centerpiece of a dense ritual landscape stretching across several square kilometers of Salisbury Plain. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding. A significant reanalysis published in 2023 by Mike Parker Pearson and co-leagues found no convincing evidence of large-scale feasting at Stonehenge itself, revising an interpretation that had been influential since the 2000s. Animal bone deposits previously linked to feasting at Stonehenge appear to have come from Durrington Walls, a large Neolithic settlement 3 kilometers away that housed the workers and pilgrims. The two sites appear to have served complementary functions within the same ritual complex. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations. And in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain Stonehenge. The real purpose has never been discovered. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that Mike Parker Pearson's leading interpretation frames Stonehenge as a monument for ancestor veneration and the commemoration of the dead. In his model, the avenue connecting Stonehenge to the River Avon formed a processional route between the world of the living, represented by Durrington walls and the timber circles of the Avon Valley, and the world of the dead, represented by the permanent stone monument at Stonehenge. The main objection is that this model cannot account for all phases of the monument's use across 15 centuries. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence. But it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that the healing sanctuary hypothesis, developed following isotopic analysis showing non-local origins of many buried individuals, proposes that people traveled from across Britain to Stonehenge seeking cures. In this view, the bluestones from Wales were believed to have healing properties, a belief documented in medieval sources, and the site functioned as a prehistoric Lourdes. Critics note that skeletal trauma in the burial population does not clearly exceed background rates for the period. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that Aubrey Burrell proposed that Stonehenge functioned primarily as a lunar calendar and eclipse predictor. The 56 Aubrey holes, he argued, could track the 18-year lunar cycle if stones or markers were moved around the circle systematically. This mathematical elegance is the hypothesis's strength. Its weakness is the absence of any corroborating evidence that the Neolithic builders possessed or used such a system. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding Stonehenge, the real purpose has never been discovered, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers, and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes the 2019 geological confirmation that the Stonehenge bluestones were quarried from a specific outcrop at Carn Godog in the Preseli Hills, Wales, is the most precise S. Our saying of any megalithic stone in Britain. The quarry shows evidence of extraction techniques directly comparable to the stone fitting at Stonehenge. This precision of origin strengthens the argument that the bluestones were chosen deliberately for a specific reason, possibly their symbolic or spiritual association with their place of origin. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented isotopic analysis of tooth enamel from individuals buried at Stonehenge has confirmed that a significant proportion grew up outside the local Wiltshire area, some from Wales, some from Scotland, some from continental Europe. This pattern of long-distance movement towards Stonehenge is consistent with a site of major regional significance, whether as a pilgrimage destination, a burial ground for an elite class, or a gathering place for dispersed communities. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed the LiDAR mapped ritual landscape surrounding Stonehenge, with its 17 previously unknown monuments, demonstrates that the site existed within an organized ceremonial geography that was planned and maintained over centuries. The density and arrangement of these surrounding features suggest institutional continuity, generations of people who understood and maintained the meaning of the place, even as the stone monument itself was repeatedly altered. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding Stonehenge. The real purpose has never been discovered. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. Parker Pearson's Feeding Stonehenge project, running from 2003 to 2009, reshaped the academic consensus toward the funerary and ancestral veneration model. The 2019 confirmation of the Carn Godog quarry source added a new dimension to the bluestone question. UNESCO World Heritage status has constrained but not halted new investigation. Geophysical survey continues to map the subsurface without excavation, and isotopic and ancient DNA studies of the burial population are ongoing. The 2023 revision of the feasting evidence shows that even established interpretations remain open to challenge. Stonehenge's purpose is not a settled question. It is an active research problem, with astronomic, funerary, healing, and ritual interpretations each holding supporting evidence. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of Stonehenge. The real purpose has never been discovered, from the historical record, through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Stonehenge ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.